Nasir, Dr. Nasir. How's everything? Fine, good. Okay. So, in this video of ours, we are going to discuss something different in the sense that the main focus of this video is the students of competitive exams, right? Like that of CSS, PMS, even students of BA, they can also take sort of advantage. But the main focus is the students of competitive exams, especially the students of CSS. Okay, as you can see over here, the topic is correction of sentences. Though actually 3-4 videos of mine are already there on the subject, but this video is directly related to the CSS students. As you can see over here, this is we will try to form sort of find solution of this CSS English right Present composition, past paper 2019. And in today's video, we cannot focus on all the things. We will just consider this thing correction. What I have seen is that most of the students of CSS, they just go on focusing on passive writing and comprehension. There is practically a 40 to 45 marks. That's good. But the problem is, even if you put your best effort, you cannot secure full marks in that. Suppose out of 25, even if your press is very good, at the maximum you will get something like 13, right? If you go cut above 14, not more than that. The same is the case with comprehension. Out of 20, at the maximum you get 12, sometimes 13, if your comprehension press is really good. Otherwise, most of the students, they just get something like 2, 3, 4 marks. Okay. So, the remaining paper, as you know, it pertains to applied grammar. And I'm including vocab portion in that. Right? Applied grammar, that is roughly of 40 to 45 marks. So why not to focus on this thing? Why not to form a base first and then actually go for Prescient, whatever. Okay. So please try to understand this thing. One can earn full marks, right? Suppose in correction portion you are asked to correct the 5 out of 8 or 7. Okay. So if you are clear about the inside story, so one can manage it very easily. The problem is, in case of correction of CSS or other competitive exam, their standard is a bit higher. Things are not that simple. Right? Sometimes error is so minor that one says, oh, this is an error, how come? So in this paper, most of the errors actually, some are a bit confusing, some are not that difficult, but we will case all these errors one by one. Okay, starting with the first, this is solution of 2000 paper, past paper of 2019. None of the boys had learned their lesson. What students do, they just go on solving these things. They take the solution, they say, okay, I have got the solution of that thing. Solution is just nothing. Until you do grasp the inside story, solution is just nothing. So you must be 101% clear that error is this, and technically this is. As I've said in the previous lectures too, errors are actually of two types. One is the error of grammar, one is the error of usage. At CSS level, they don't bother that much about grammar errors. They do focus on usage error. But as I've said earlier too, usage is a step ahead. Usage means the grammar of the grammarians. So sometimes error is so actually it's not very prominent. Sometimes people say, yeah, it's okay, it's 1% fine. There is something wrong with in writing actually. They have written the correct expression and they are asking you to correct that. How is it possible? Okay. So starting with the first, just 7-8 sentences are there. Okay. None of the boys had learned their lesson. It's a very common error, not that difficult. Even students of BA level, BSc level, they can understand this thing. That this is the solution, but they don't know what the reason behind that thing is. Okay. So can you guess what? None of the boys had learned their lesson. Look, the word none and there. Okay, with red mark. Would you red mark? So none of the boys, okay, do focus on these two things. None and there. From the very childhood you have been actually reading like this sort of things that none is followed by this. Some people say that none is a pronoun. Technically we call it indefinite pronoun. Indefinite pronoun. I don't want to actually go into that detail in the current lecture, but on the basis of guesswork, people say none must be followed by something singular. Some teachers say it must be followed by something plural. Actually, the fact of the matter is that it depends on the very sense of that expression, whether we use something singular or plural. In most of the cases, things that follow none, they are treated as singular. But in some cases, they can be considered plural. Okay. So, we try to understand this concept, right? It is said antecedent. Antecedent. The use of antecedent. Okay. For CSS students, things must be, they are supposed to dig into things. If they just matter things like other students, obviously, antecedent, try to understand this thing and then I will inshallah. Antecedent basically means what? Ante stands for before. It means before. Okay? And it means before. And what? Actually, antecedent. Okay. Anti means before. It's not anti. Don't mix it with that. Anti means opposite. But anti means before. So we say, okay, that fellow, that friend of yours, is sitting in the ante room. That means the room that comes in the very start. So ante means before. Right? Something that's on the front. Clear? So the literal meaning of the word antecedent is something that comes before. Something that comes before. Suppose in this expression, none of the boys had learned their lesson. We say, we are referring to what antecedent is? None of the boys. Okay. So none of the boys, apparently it is something plural. But we will treat none as singular. So none of the boys, we say, we are actually using this thing according to what? If it is singular, if you want to say, none of the boys, right? And you are actually treating them as sort of unit, not singular. So you have to match this thing with this thing. So if you are pointing out actually what? None of the boys. You are pointing out all of them individually. None of them. Right? So this thing is a pronoun. So this thing should be according to this. So what do you think? If we suppose that over here it's being used as singular, they use as singular. Though in some cases it can be treated as plural over here. Otherwise too, suppose in your exam they say that there is a mistake in it. That means in that situation they are treating this thing as singular. That's why they are saying there is mistake. So there should be according to this. Today all of you know we have the touch of plural. And we are treating it as singular. So if antecedent is singular, this thing should be singular. So there should become what? Yes? Because we are referring to boys, so singular would become his. That's all. Sometimes it can be her, but over here obviously. So antecedent means the thing that comes before. In this expression, antecedent sense-wise it is singular. That's why we have used his. That's why. So the mistake was over here. Clear? Sometimes suppose you say, sometimes we treat this thing as plural. Right? We don't consider that thing as a sort of unit. We say, so we say, none of the boys, right, are willing. Sometimes it's correct in the sense that we do treat boys individually. It means Mr. Ash is not willing, this is not willing, not as a unit, but rather as sort of at individual level. In that case, this thing or the word matching this thing becomes two words. Suppose you see, none of the boys are coming. It means Mr. Akram, Mr. Rashid, Mr. Smile, they are not coming. But if you treat that as a unit, then we say none of the boys is coming. Clear? Anyway, over here, antecedent was singular, that's why we have used as. I think it's very simple. Nothing that difficult. I regret at the delay. In CS exam, in competitive exam, the problem is sometimes they do actually, error is actually such ignorant sort of error that you say, it's 1% okay. Sometimes the problem is that of preposition, the use of preposition. All of you know prepositions are what? Prepositions are basically the words that show sort of relation between different expressions, right? Sort of relation. They don't combine the different things, they show sort of relation. Like suppose you just go for a very simple example. So you say, your cup is dash the table. So we need some linking word to find relation between your cup and the table. If you say, on the table. On is over here, being used as preposition. Clear? At cases level, what happens actually, sometimes, right, after some expressions, because grammarians have set some standard rules, sometimes one thinks, why should? It can be like this, but rules are there, so you have to stick to them. Okay. So, regret is being used as verb here. It's being used as verb. Okay. When we use the word regret as verb, we are not supposed to use preposition after that. So, at over here is being used as what? Preposition. So, we are not supposed to use preposition after regret. When we use the word regret as verb, you're not getting it. Let's go for some simple example. Suppose you say, he reached there. Okay. Reached, suppose at. He attract on. Okay. In these two examples, suppose you say, reach is being used as verb. No confusion. Attract is being used as verb. Okay. Suppose you say, he emphasized on that thing. So for a lay folk, right, all these expressions are okay. But in this sort of exams, there are three glaring mistakes, right? As I've said, mistake is actually of preposition. Mistakes are of two types. Sometimes we are supposed to use preposition and we don't use. It's a mistake. Sometimes we are not supposed to use preposition and we do use that. It's a problem. So, as I said, after regret, when we use the word regret as verb, we don't use any preposition. What's some idea? In these examples, reach, attract, emphasize. All these words are being used as what? These are verbs. When we use these words as verbs, that's great. So, when we use these words as verbs, we are not supposed to use preposition after this. So, suppose this sort of expressions are there in the exam. You see, I read, this thing must not be there, cross it. He attract as verb, we are not supposed to use any preposition. He emphasized, we are not supposed to use any preposition. Just delete this stuff, you can find. So the expression would become like what? He reached it, he attacked him, he emphasized that point, or that thing, whatever. Clear? But if I change this a bit, right? Suppose I say, during that attack on China, around India. Look, over here, you can guess, I'm using what? After verbs, we don't use preposition, but after, when we use the same words as nouns, suppose you say, during the attack on, let's suppose, India. It's just an expression. Okay. If I say the emphasis is on this point, right? I can understand your regret. Okay. So in these three examples, if you just think for a while, during the attack on India, attack and on, preposition over it is fine. The reason behind this is that the word attack is not being used as verb, it's being used as noun. So after nouns we do, right? We do use preposition. Okay? So it's a noun. So this preposition is fine. The emphasis is on this point. In one of the previous examples, I said that he emphasized this point. When we use the word emphasize as verb, no use of preposition, but will be maybe it's noun form, as we can see over here. It's a noun. In that case, preposition is required. Right? So this sort of, in writing especially, this sort of things are required in conversation, in like routine language. It's okay, whatever we do, everyone is free to do. It's a sort of free for all, like the way we talk in English. So that is a strange experience. Anyway, I can understand your regret. Okay. The word regret is being used as noun. It is slightly different from the above examples. When we use the word regret as verb, we don't use preposition. And in this case too, I can understand your regret. We are not using any preposition. So sometimes the same, right? So the trigger is there. Sometimes nouns need prepositions, and sometimes the same word when used as verb or as noun, that does not require any preposition. Clear? So, okay. Inshallah we take the next one. The next expression is, I could not help but laugh. Look, actually, these are not 10 sentences, 10 expressions. If you do understand the right true reason behind all this, right, even after doing this 10, one can understand so many different rules. So can you guess, I could not help but laugh? What's wrong? Something wrong over here? In routine it's okay, it's almost okay, because sometimes we use the word but in the sense of except. Right? It's a preposition. And if we can actually change this thing in two ways. But keep in mind, if I say, I could not help, right? The word help actually is not being used in its routine sense to help someone. No. Over here, help means to avoid something. Right? Help means to, help is being used in the sense of to avoid. And the formula is, right, when we use the word help, in routine right conversation we use help in this sense very good. So, whether we use the word help in this sense, avoid something, it is followed by ing form. Right? So, try to understand this thing. I was saying that I could not help, right, if I say except. If I use the word except, and if I just add ing, it is almost okay. I could not help except laughing. But even now it's not sounding that good. If you stick to this formula, help means to avoid. In routine life, right, you would say, some girl says, why did you actually tell the whole story to that friend of yours? So if she says, yeah, it is true, but actually I could not help telling. That means I wanted to avoid that thing, but so I could not actually. I could not help laughing. I could not help telling. Look, this is the structure. I could not, suppose you say, I could not, okay? And then the formula starts here. I could not, one thing, help, and we have to use ing form. If tell, most of us say, I could not help to tell. There is a sort of infinitive, and we'll discuss that in some coming lecture. I could not help telling. Are you getting? Suppose someone says, okay, you were supposed to wait for me, right? Why did you actually leave so early or something? In that case, you can say what? I could not help, right? Going. That means I thought it's better to, I could not help going. Okay, so it's okay. I could not help going. That means what? I didn't want to go actually, but I somehow actually went. Clear? So this is the structure, very simple. Now you can guys find a solution very easily. I could not help. Ignore this thing, whatever I have mentioned over here. Stick to this thing. I could not help dash, laugh. So it would become what? I could not. Clear? Then help. Okay. And then we have to use what? ing form or ing form. So it will become what? I could not help. Yes. Laugh would become what? Laughing. Laughing over here does not mean that a continuous form of that. Rather, it is the process. I have discussed this thing in a previous lecture that sometimes we use the word laughing as, in a way, gerund, noun-like stuff. So it would be I could not help is laughing. Clear? Okay. Suppose I will say, why did you move from that place? Suppose someone is sitting somewhere and he or she is feeling a bit uneasy. So he or she would say what? I could not help moving. I could not help going. I could not help, right? So we say, why you always go on guiding people? So see, it's my nature, right? So I could not help patronizing. Clear? So simple rule is sometimes we use the word help in the sense to avoid something, and it's followed by ing form, and ing form has actually different meanings. I have discussed this thing in the previous lectures. You can check this thing out somehow. Sometimes ing form is continuous form, sometimes it is gerund, sometimes it is participle, sometimes it is simple adjective. But over here, we are concerned is gerund, right? We are using the word laughing as gerund. Gerund means what? The process, actually. It doesn't mean that you are laughing, continuous form, it is the process of that. So keep this thing in mind that after help we have to use ing form. I could not help. So we say, why did you meet him? We say, yeah, actually he is such a nice fellow and he has been a friend of mine, so I could not help meeting. Never say I could not help to meet. That is a bit illogical. Okay? Or some idea. The next is, I always have and always shall be your friend. This expression is a bit difficult in the sense that, right? Always have and always shall be. Right? For an average person who doesn't have that much sense of English, it's okay. In routine, otherwise, to be talk like this. But there is another rule, and that says what? The rule says that when tenses are different, their main verb should be different. Right? Suppose I say, it means different tenses must have different verbs. This thing is a bit difficult, but try to understand, it's not that difficult. Suppose you say, he always comes, okay, it's one sentence, okay, and then when you use some other sentence, other tense, the verb, main verb of that should be different. Suppose in this expression, first let's go for the thing that what is actually correct form. I always have. So this have is not giving complete sense over here. We need what? Look, this expression is a bit difficult in the sense that the word be and have are not being used in the routine sense. Okay? So you actually want to say, I always have, and you want to show that straight. The correct form would be like, I always have been. You can guess, I always have been. But been is not being used as helping verb over here. It's being used as main verb. Try to understand. It's being used as main verb. How come? Suppose you say, someone says, have you ever gone to America? Have you ever gone to America? So sometimes, instead of saying this, have you ever gone to America? Clear? America. This you main verb. Even all of you, I think this very easily. Gone is being used as main verb. Sometimes instead of saying this, we go for a simple expression, that is, especially in conversation, we say, what have you, if you want to confirm, have you ever gone? And we say, have you ever been to America? Can you guess what? The word gone is your main verb, and this been over here is doing that job. It is giving the touch of gone actually. Right? In routine actually we use the word been as helping verb, auxiliary verb. Right? I have been doing this thing. I have been waiting for him. In these expressions, been is being used as helping verb. But over here, been is actually being used as main verb. Right? So the expression would be, I always have been. Okay? This is your main verb. Sometimes actually, if you take it from another angle, we say always actually is not at its proper place, right? In routine it's okay, but if you change this thing a bit, if you change this position, if you say, I have always been, this is actually the correct order. I have always been, right? Been is used as main verb, but the order is I have always been. But in exam, if you do this sort of thing, so they might treat it as so. I have, but been is required over here, but been is not being used as auxiliary verb, it's being used as main verb. Okay? And in this expression, and I always shall be, what would be? In routine, we use the word be once again as sort of helping verb. But over here, be is showing that straight. It is once again over here, it's being used as main verb. Main verb, showing that straight. Showing that straight. I shall always be your friend. Because you don't find any verb in this. Do you find? Suppose you say, he shall be waiting. Waiting is your main verb. They shall be coming. Coming is your main verb. But in this expression, do you find any main verb? No. So being is being used as sort of main verb, showing that straight. So the correct expression is, I have always been and always shall be your friend. Right? I think this fellow has landed from some other planet. Otherwise, most of us are busy dodging and foxing others. Anyway, looks like a nice fellow. I was out walking when I saw the new moon in the garden. I was out walking In this expression, the problem is that of what? The problem is that of sequence. What? Sequence. Let me rub it out. And then yes. So try to delve into things. Don't try to smatter things. Don't try just kiss them and say it's okay. When you actually dig into something, then you actually come to know things are not that simple as it seems, right? Because you would have observed that when you're in teenage, you think that you are perhaps the wisest of all. When you practically start becoming a bit wise, then you know, yeah, I'm stupid. I'm a born schmuck. I do nothing. And that is sort of learning process. So, I was out walking when I saw the new moon. Right? In this expression, the problem is that of what? Sequence. Right? Things are simple. But sequence is not proper. Ordering is not proper. I was out walking. It can give the meaning that perhaps I was not in my senses. I was off the hinge. I was off my onion. I was mad. Right? Walking when I saw the. Obviously, in this expression, there is no touch of that sort. So the simple expression, I was walking. Right? I was walking. Walk is being used as what? It is being used as verb. I was walking. And the word that changes the meaning of a verb is called, though this is not the exact definition of adverb. Adverb has different jobs, but over here, one of the actually functions of adverb is that it changes the meaning of, it modifies a verb. So the word out actually over here is being used as adverb. Adverb. I was walking out. Right? So what do you say? Please come in. Okay? Come, you walk, and in, you might be thinking that in is a preposition. True, it is. But the way it's being used over here, technically, in is being used as adverb. Right? Out was adverb, similarly, this is being used as adverb. Right? It's a Sega, we'll discuss this thing later on. That over here, expression is very simple. What? He was out walking. Actually, we want to say he was walking, and he was walking where? He was walking out. Walking. Right? Out of his residence, whatever. So, sequence should be proper. So, this is the correct expression. But the final statement, I was walking out when I saw the new moon in the garden. Any confusion? Okay. And one more example, 2-3 things are there, but these things are sort of topics, so I think we should carry it over to the next lecture. Right? Inshallah, we'll dilate upon this stuff in the coming, but let me just skim it through once. That the first was the problem was that of proper use of antecedent. You have to keep in mind whether antecedent is singular or plural. The second, the problem is that of preposition. Sometimes we do use preposition, sometimes we don't. So there is no actually absolute formula of preposition basically, but set rules are there, so you have to follow them. I could not help but laugh. In this expression, the word help is being used in a different way. Sometimes help is followed by ing form, and that gives the impression of avoid something. I could not help, right? Meeting, laughing, running, going, whatever. And in this case, this expression was a bit tricky, right? There are two sentences, so every actually part must have its own verb. Inshallah, we will, if we find a chance, we will go into detail later on. But as I said, that over here, have been was being used as main verb. Similarly, the word be itself was being used as main verb, and we have put main verb over here. I have always been and always shall be a friend. Okay, this sort of mistakes are in the TOEFL exam. I was out walking. Very simple. Sequences not proper. Okay, I was walking and I was walking out. I was walking and whatever. So I think for today it's enough. Inshallah, I'll try to be in touch with you inshallah very soon, so that we may, if you do actually find something good, do subscribe to the channel. If you don't, do abuse me and be on your way. Thank you very much. Take care.